Hello. This is the next re-recorded solution video in the series of puzzles that I put out. This one, Easter Egg 2025, is like the least creative name for any puzzle I've come up with so far. It is very literally just exactly what it is. I made an Easter egg in Easter 2025. That's all there is to it. Considering this was effectively me just drawing lines into the grid until something worked, it has continued to surprise me that this has one of the highest ratings of my puzzles, 94%. Which is not like, flawless, every single person in the world loves it, but I'm just kind of surprised that of all the puzzles I made, this is the one that has a decently high rating because I really didn't intend on the logic too much. I kind of, like I said, just drew things until it worked. That is just being completely transparent here. In the future, I might be interested in making puzzle or videos that talk about how I set each puzzle, if I can remember. And this one really was just, I was just drawing things in some sort of color combination to try and make it look like an egg, and this is the first version that worked, and then I just put enough given digits in the grid to keep it relatively approachable. So with that being said, I do provide two versions of this puzzle. One that's kind of the original, one that has additional letter acronyms on top of each line to clarify which is each type of line, solely just for the sake of colorblind accessibility. I don't know what combinations of colors are problems for different types of people, so I figured just to be safe, put them above the acronyms above every line. It also contains a clarification that, for the avoidance of doubt, the Germ Whisper line makes up the entirety of the border of the Easter egg, and the other lines move across the egg horizontally. And that was me recognizing I put the GW here for German Whisper, but it's, if you maybe see all of this as, some other blend of colors, you might not recognize that this is not the German Whisper, just branching over here. Even with the RB here, I wanted to clarify the perimeter is all German Whisper, everything else moves across horizontally. So, what we need to do here is I need to copy the hints, and I don't feel like editing this out, so maybe just look away for a second. This is like the laziest editing idea in history. Yeah. That's just because if I edit anything in the video, I have to re-render the whole thing, and I much prefer just doing this all in one take. So, hint number one is the beginning here, and it's less of a hint on what to do, but kind of how to go about the puzzle. I do point out that it says it may seem like overkill, but fully pencil marking the German Whisper line is actually quite helpful in this puzzle, including taking care of all of places where 4s and 6s can't go, because they are generally the most restricted. I actually didn't even go over the rules yet. They're all standard rules, but some of these are the first time I've used these in a puzzle. So we have German Whispers, adjacent digits must be different by at least 5. Red band, digits along a red band must be a non-repeating set of consecutive digits in any order. Read in some lines, box borders split blue lines into segments, and the digits on those segments must sum to the same value. So usually we use coloring to explain this. Every time the blue line crosses a box border, in this case from box 4 here into box 5, that's a new segment of the line. That then breaks apart over here into a third segment. And this is saying each of these segments has the same sum. So 5 plus whatever this is would be the same as what these three together are, which is then the same as what these two sum together to. Look at that perfect highlighting there. Finally, entropic line. Any set of 3 sequential cells along a beige line, which is this, must contain a low digit, a middle digit, and a high digit. Digits may repeat on lines if allowed by other rules. So, this is a bit harder to explain, but we have this sort of pattern of 3 sets of 3 numbers in a row. We don't know if this is low, medium, or high, but if we determine this was low, the idea is this is saying every set of 3 sequential cells along the line must contain a low. So, these 3 have the low taken care of. But if I now select the second set of 3 numbers here, we need a low digit among them. And we know it's not these two. So the low digit would end up here. And we end up effectively having every third digit ends up being the same entropy, low, medium, high. So we would know that this would also then be a 1, 2, 3. And if we worked out this was a 4, 5, 6, we would have to go 3 cells later and get a 4, 5, 6 down here. If this was then high, we would go 3 cells later and get a 7, 8, 9 there. And now, no matter which set of 3 cells you select, you always have a low, medium, high. You can sort of like snake it along one at a time like that and see it. Now again, we don't know, which one is which there. That's just for an example. But anyways, back to hint number 1. So again, that said, it may seem like overkill, but fully pencil marking the German Whisper line is quite helpful in this puzzle, including taking care of all places where 4s and 6s can't go, since they are the most restricted. So, if we look at a cell like this and put in all the options that could go on a German Whisper, it can't have a 5. That's about it. But we can do some other things. We have given digits. It can't be an 8 or a 9. And we also can take out 4 and 6, because 4 would give double 9, and 6 would give double 1. So that's just the only way to make that work. Here, we then additionally have pretty much the same thing happening. Can't be 8, 9, can't be 4, 6. And then here, also, can't be 8, 9, can't be 6 from the row, but it still just couldn't be by German Whisper logic. Then we're going to have a similar-ish effect here. Not quite the same, but it can't be 4 or 6, but it could still be an 8, because 8's not in the box now. And then here, can't be 4, 6, or 9. And now I will pencil mark the full German Whisper line in a moment, but this is actually all we need for now. And that is what hint number 2 is referring to. Hint number 2 says, pay special attention to column 2 in box 4. So box 4 here, and we have column 2. There's only one way to make this portion of the German Whisper line work. That is recognizing the fact that we have 3 low digits and a single high digit of 7 here. 2 of these are going to have to be the same polarity. We don't know if it's low or high, but we do know there'll be 2 of them. And we don't have 2 high digits that we can use here. So the only way we could put a high digit in any of these is to have it be the single digit in the center of the 3, or 4 options there. And that now tells us the polarity of the line. So now it's going to be worth it to pencil mark the full line. Because now we know this must be high. It must be an 8. 7 and 9 come out from there. Or, ooh, that actually could have been a 9, couldn't it be? Did I mess something up? No, I did. Huh. What did I do? Is it the 8? It is the 8. Ah, that's what it was. I was like, hold on, like, there's no way, I'm not re-recording this again. Like, this is already my second attempt at this. I just said I was doing one take, but I'm not redoing this again. This could have been a 6, that was the issue. I didn't even put a 6 there, so that can't be 6 or 9. I guess we now know it's a 6, but we will prove that logically in a moment. This could have been 6, 7, 8, 9. It can't be a 6, so that is definitely an 8. Okay, no, that actually gives us the 6 now. That's not a big deal then. That is a 6. On the German Whisper line gives us double 1s there. That's not a 1. This now is a 1, 2, or a 3. That must be a 6, 7, 8, 9. Can't be a 6 because there's no 1 available here. That's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Can't be a 4. 6, 7, 8, 9 can't be a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 can't be a 4. You can see this is pretty easy to pencil mark in. This one could be a 6 because we could have 1s in these 2 spots. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't be a 4 for double 9s in the box. 6, 7, 8, 9. We're not going to have a bunch of digits that can't be 4s or 6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That could be a 4 with double 9s on the 2 sides. 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a double 9 in this row. And we get 6, 7, 8, 9 there. So, that is, I believe, about as far as we can get on this for now. But this is now where hint number 3 comes in. And this is the final hint for this particular puzzle. Hint number 3 says, after that, focus on the Ren bands. There are only 3 ways to make them contain a sequence of 7 digits. And that has implications on what columns 1 and 9 can be for each line. So I'm going to use the center of the grid to pencil mark some options here. So we have 7 cells on each Ren band. So again, there's going to be 7 digits along it. That all must be in some sort of sequential order. In any order, but there'll be a sequence as a whole. So there's 3 ways we can make that work. It's either going to be 1 through 7, 2 through 8, or 3 through 9. And the question is to think about what would be the leftover digits. So if this was 1 through 7, we would have 8 and 9 left over. If this was 2 through 8, we'd have 1 and 9 left over. And if it's 3 through 9, we have 1 and 2 left over. So what that tells us is the outside part of the Ren bands are going to be made up of 1, 2, 8, 9. We don't know exactly which, but we do know 1, 2, 8, and 9 are the options. And this cannot be any of 1, 8, or 9, so that must be a 2. And now, given the 3 options we had available here, the only one that involves having a 2 on the outside is this. So we can color, again, we're just kind of using notes here in the center. This Ren band must be 1, 2 on the outside, meaning everything between is just going to be 3 through 9. The 2 comes out from here, 8 comes out from there, 1 comes out from there. So it just figures, I was joking throughout that whole take there that I was going to do this in one take, and then I just ended the recording because I couldn't remember what to do next. And I had to check my own solution video for the fast, and I don't feel like recording the first 10 minutes of that. So I'm just going to lazily stitch this together after. So what I was missing is the fact that the German Whisper line is more resolvable than I was realizing. Not a huge amount more, but we can place a 2 here, because this is 7, so there's no way this is going to be a 3. That's 2, that's 3. That being a 3 means this is not a 7. That must be 9. It takes out 3 from over here, 2 from over there. The important part there is that now means this can no longer be 9, so that must be a 1. Meaning this now has to be combined with either a 2 or a 9 over here, but it can't be 2, because this now has a 2 over here. So this is a 1-9 outside of this Renban. So we can get rid of these pencil marks for the Renbans and see what else this does for the line now. That's a 3, that's not a 7, that's a 1. This can no longer be a 6, because we would need double 1s, so that must be 8, 7. 7 here means these can no longer be 3. I think that's about it now. Famous last words, but... no, this can no longer be a 6, that's not a big deal, but... Okay, so, what that does do for us, though, is we now have it worked out to know that this is 5 and 7. So we now know the sum that each of these segments must be, sums to 12. So if this was an 8, that would have to be a 4. If this was a 9, it would have to be a 3, which it can't be. So that is definitely an 8 and a 4. That does a little more work on the line up here. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to work out what the center part of this is quite yet. I'm going to focus on just kind of normal Sudoku first. But we now have the entropic line worked out. We know this is high digit now. So if we do our coloring pattern from earlier, all of the greens will have to be 7, 8, 9 now to maintain the pattern. So that's not 7. We don't immediately know what the others are, but we can at least consider. Maybe this is low. If it is, it's a 3. Maybe it could be high or medium, in which case it's a 4. This could be either. That could be either. That could be either, except it can't be either. That cannot be low. That must actually just be a 5, which tells us orange is medium and pink is low. So that must be a 3. A little better than that, too. We have a 1-2 pair down here, so that is a 3 there. We don't really need the coloring here anymore. Ooh, that did not undo it. Because we now work out which one is which. But it does leave us with some classic Sudoku we can do, because this box is only missing 3 things now. We need 4, 6, 9. 6 and 9. This needs 2, 7, 9. That's not 7. 2 and 9 there. Now this is not 9, which means that's 9. And that gives us 8 in the center. This row is now missing 4, 7. This row is missing 1, 3, not 6, 5. And then this row is missing 2, 6, 9. Doing a little better. This column is missing 2 things. We need 4 and 5. This column is missing 3 things. A little more hairy, but we need 4, 5, 6. Still not resolved either. Just looking for other weak spots here. 1 in this box is restricted down to can't be either of these. And 1 here is ruled out there. Can't go there, so 1 goes here. 2 in this box is similarly restricted into being specifically here. And you know what, at this point I'll pencil mark the remaining parts, because we only need, it's 4 digits. We need 4, 5, 6, 7, missing there. And 7 has to go here. And this box needs 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 and 6 are not there, 6 is not there, this just has to be 6. So that gives us a 4 or 5 pair, giving a 3. Now, I think a lot of people would consider this to be like overkill on pencil marking when you go to a box and just type every single option for 4 cells. Again, just like everything else, I say it's a time saver in my opinion. If you're newer to this, I would recommend doing it manually and looking around the grid for classic deductions a bit more kind of elegantly. I personally don't care. I've done this stuff a million times. I'm just here to demonstrate the solution. I don't think the classic Sudoku is a huge part of this, so I'd rather just kind of get to the point on those parts. This row has a 4, 5, 6 triple, and it has 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, so that is a 9. Means 9 doesn't go there. And this row needs 4, 5, 8. So now we can maybe pencil mark the remaining parts of this column. Need 2, 3, 7. That leaves us here with 4, 5, 8. Here we need a 4, 6, 8. I think? No. What it already is here. No, it is, yeah. 4, 6, 8. That didn't seem right at first, just from the pencil mark, but that is correct. 4 comes out there. 5 and 6 takes out 4, 5 from there. That goes 5, 4. 5, 4 up here. 4 comes out from there. 6 is here. 5 is here. 6 is there. 6 is out from here. That gives 5 up here. 8, 5. 8 comes out from there. This is resolving way more than I thought it was going to. I forgot that that much is doable right now. 3 and 7. And for the most part, nope, 7, 9 pair in this part of the row here, so that's not a 7. Neither is this. That's 3, 7, 2, 1, 3, 7 there. 1, and we still even haven't thought about the remaining part of the region sum line here. That's going to be needed for final disambiguation in a moment. And personally, when I'm solving any sort of puzzle like this, I try to ignore rules until the very end, just so I can appreciate what they're doing to the grid. So always push classic Sudoku as far as you can, in my opinion. We need 2, 6, 8. And here, we need 3, 4, 5. So, now we need to think about the region sum line. So, if we put a 2 here, we need to make the sum to 12 somehow. If we put a 2 here, we would need to have these sum to 10 in order to make it big enough. And we can't take any 2 digits from this that's sum to 10. So 2 is too small for this. That has to be 6. And I believe that's actually all we need to do for this. I don't think we even have to think about how we sum these together, but maybe we do. That now becomes an 8. No, we do. Okay. So now we know this is 6, so we need the remaining 2 parts to sum to 6. And we can't have double 3. So this is 1, 5 with a 3 in the center. Let's see. There's got to be a pair somewhere in one of these columns that I'm just not seeing. That definitely is resolved at this point. Oh, 4, 5 here means 3 goes there. That's still not enough. What's missing here? Oh, it's the German whisper line. The 3 here must be next to a 9, not a 7. I was like, this felt like, there's definitely something I'm missing, but the line in the center is resolved already, so. This really just goes to show this was one of my least solved puzzles, I think, just as far as me going back to it. I personally don't really find it that interesting. All the more reason why it's interesting that it has such a decent rating. I think maybe just because it's just an interesting combination of the lines. Not to say, like, my creations are bad or anything, but, like, compared to others I've made, I don't have as much of a connection with this one. And that really showed in this solution video, but I don't particularly care enough to redo this one, so I'm just going to post this as is, probably. Anyways, thank you for watching.